73rd Assembly person Nick Milroy, you had a confrontation at the Capitol recently. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I did. I went to dinner last night with my staff person and a former constituent from Superior, and when I returned to the Capitol, they wouldn't let me back in the building. I showed them my ID. I tried to get in the building. They opened the door to let me in, and another officer said that they weren't allowing anybody in, and at that point I was thrown to the ground.
They took you to the ground?
They did.
Did they recognize that you were a representative?
I repeatedly told them that I was a state representative and I needed to get into my office to get my personal belongings. I was staying overnight at a hotel across the street, and unfortunately it escalated to the point where there was an incident.
Has there been any apology for that, or?
There hasn't been thus far. I had a chance to talk to the officer that brought me to the ground. I was later allowed in the building, and I told him I know that people are frustrated. I know there's a lot of stress, and I understand. I understand that. I think he went a little over the line. I think I was probably a little too aggressive trying to get in the building. I apologized to him. He said he was under a lot of stress too, but he didn't apologize to me. I don't blame the officer. I blame Scott Walker for having this sort of policy where our Capitol has been under complete lockdown for the last several days, and it's being guarded by hundreds of police officers.
Can you talk about the budget repair bill and what's going on in Madison? I've interviewed Senator Jauch via phone. I just interviewed Representative Bewley. I interviewed last Saturday Representative Rivard. Your take on what's going on in Madison right now, the budget repair bill, and
yeah, the governor introduced a budget repair bill. It was introduced even though we don't have a budget crisis. There's nothing that requires a budget repair bill, and he wanted it passed in 6 days. And the people of Wisconsin stood up and said, we don't want this. This bill takes away the rights of workers and has many other egregious things in the bill. And people wanted time to look at it and let their voices be heard, and that's exactly what we've been doing.
Okay, I was here last week and talked to a lot of folks, and they said they agreed to the financial concessions, but the collective bargaining is really sticking. Why is that so important? Representative Rivard, last Saturday, interviewed him, and said that you won't get permanent budget relief until you deal with collective bargaining.
Well, I don't know that that's true. Wisconsin workers have always sat down and always made concessions in tough times. They're willing to do it again. They've offered up the concessions that the governor has asked for, and he hasn't been willing to compromise. He hasn't sat down with anybody. He's just shown a real lack of leadership in this state.
There's some criticism of Senator Jauch being out of the state, and I asked Representative Rivard about that. Some Republicans are saying he's advocating his duty, along with the other 13 Democrats. Any statement on that about Senator Jauch and the other 13 Democrats?
Well, the reason why they left the state was because the governor gave us 6 days to deliberate this bill, and that wasn't enough time. We've had hundreds of thousands of people come to the Capitol to let their voices be heard. They want to know what's in the bill. They want people to listen. I'm upset that Representative Rivard is not listening to his constituents. Maybe if representatives and senators on the other side of the aisle were listening to hundreds of thousands of people around the state that are protesting in areas like Spooner, Wisconsin, we wouldn't be in this situation.
One of the criticisms that the Republicans have is that in 2008, Governor Doyle had a budget repair bill that they only had 24 hours of input. And I've heard that people saying this is a tit for tat. Any comment to that?
Well, that's pretty silly, because when we had a budget repair bill in 2008, there wasn't 100,000 people standing outside the Capitol protesting the bill. This is more than a budget repair bill. This is filled with a bunch of policy that's going to affect every working family in Wisconsin, and people are very upset about it.
Anything else you want to say?
Just appreciate you being out here today.
Being out here tonight, this is quite a sight in Spooner, Wisconsin. Give yourselves a hand. I couldn't be more proud to represent the people of northern Wisconsin, and the reason why I'm here tonight is because Governor Scott Walker and Representative Rivard are not listening to the people of northern Wisconsin. This budget repair bill and the budget that the governor just dropped on Wisconsin are going to destroy working families, and they're going to hurt every community across this state, especially small communities like Spooner, Wisconsin, and we're not going to stand for it. I am fighting hard every day to try to make sure that my constituents' voices are being heard down in Madison, and I couldn't do it without all of your support. And I know Bob Joke is so proud of the efforts of all of you. You know, we wouldn't be in this fight if it wasn't for all of the people of Wisconsin standing up and letting their voices be heard. I've been so inspired by the hundreds of thousands of people that have come down to Madison to let the governor know this is not the type of Wisconsin that we want for the future of our children. You know, last night there was an incident at the Capitol where I tried to get inside the Capitol to retrieve some of my personal belongings so I could call it a night and get some rest. And I was tackled by a law enforcement officer. Some of you may have seen that on the news today. You know, I don't blame the law enforcement officer for what happened. It was a very hairy situation. There's a lot of tension and a lot of unease down in the Capitol. The police have been doing a great job. I blame Scott Walker for what he's doing to our state. It's an absolute shame that Scott Walker thinks it's more important to tear people apart than it is to sit down and compromise and come together. The workers of Wisconsin have said they'll meet the financial obligations that Scott Walker's asked for them, but that's not enough. He wants to take away the rights that we've had in this state for over 50 years that has led to peaceful labor negotiations across our state, and he's tearing at the very fabric of who we are as a state, and it's absolutely wrong. Thank you once again, everybody, for being out tonight. If you make it home by 8 o'clock, I'm going to be on the Rachel Maddow show, so make sure you tune in. Keep up the fight. We're going to need you one more day, 1 day longer, another day stronger. Thank you.
Good job, Nick. Last night I was trying to get back into the Capitol, trying to gather some personal belongings so I could retire for the night, and the Capitol Police wouldn't allow me in, and they took me through.
Hey, it looked like I got to at the end.